Let's head to Queensland now. Premier Palaszczuk has floated an absurd idea that her government might implement a cap on private rentals.
This is a big issue for families. They are constantly being faced with huge increases in rent, and this is putting a lot of pressure on families. We will also be discussing rental caps as well.
Now, that was the Premier yesterday. Today she's saying, in fact, she's not talking about a cap, but maybe rents being reviewed yearly rather than every 6 months. They're all over the shop. It's clear Queensland has a problem with rising rental prices. In the space of 5 years, rents increased by 80% in Gladstone, 51% in Noosa, 33% on the Gold Coast, way faster than anywhere else in the country. But the notion that introducing a cap on what private landlords can charge for their own property is yet another knee-jerk reaction from a government that seems intent on policy on the run. I'm pleased to say, joining me now, Queensland Opposition leader David Crisafulli. A bit of confusion there, you might help me out. That was yesterday. She's sort of walking that back a little bit today. Stephen Miles is having his say as well. Where's this up to tonight, David?
Well, you said knee-jerk, add policy on the run, thought bubble, and it all equals chaos, Peter, absolute chaos. And what they don't understand is because they're under electoral pressure, they believe that they can just throw anything out there to try and relieve the pressure valve. Well, there are implications for bad policy and thought bubbles. Now, let's go back to why we are in this situation. For the last 8 years, there has been nearly a third reduction in the number of lots. Why? Because the state hasn't embarked on infrastructure partnerships with council to open up new opportunities for young people to be able to buy their first home. We have not partnered with the community housing sector, as we've seen in other parts of the country. And as for social housing, they have missed the mark on every target. The Auditor-General says that Queensland's social housing rollout is the worst in the nation. So we are failing at all ends. And if you don't get those mechanics right, well, you create a feeding frenzy at the bottom end of the market. That means that young people can't get into the home and your most vulnerable fall through the cracks. And I have met working Queenslanders living out of their car. And I'm sorry, Premier, but a thought bubble to say you're going to cap rents, that just reduces supply and it makes it tougher. And every economist in the country agrees.
Well, you're spot on, and we saw that when the Labor government under Bob Hawke went after negative gearing, and it caused the stock to dry up, and a lot of people who were renting homes to sell them, to put them back into the market and not have them available as rental properties. The government today announced a delay in at least one of their new affordable housing projects. It's already behind time frames. I listened to Saul Eslake on a radio program last night, and he was making the case that of all the states, Queensland's the worst off in terms of getting housing into the market. Why is that?
Because no one holds ministers accountable. The Premier's checked out. For the Premier, it's all about the red carpet, it's all about the champagne, and no one is doing what good governments do, and that is hold people accountable. And Sol's right, and the Auditor-General has belled the cat on this. They continue to talk about this $2 billion fund. It hasn't delivered one roof over one head, and it's now approaching 2 years. Announcements without follow-through mean nothing. So what we've got in the example you raised, a promise of a couple of hundred homes, a vacant lot and a vacant promise. And imagine being that Queenslander who's working, who goes to work and is living out of a tent because you can't get a rental property. Imagine knowing that those properties haven't come on market. Imagine knowing there are vacant properties that they promised they would deliver. It's soul-destroying, Peter.
David, got to leave it there. David Crisafulli, thank you.